asked, what are your thoughts on the B Cinemascore for The Flash? So, Cinemascore pulls audiences coming out of the theater opening night. So late last night, they finally posted their Cinemascore for The Flash, and it's a B. And when it comes to big blockbusters, superhero movies, crowd pleasers, a B Cinemascore is actually really low. Some of that ties into what we were just talking about with the nature of what it is. They are pulling people that saw the trailer for a movie and went, oh man, I can't wait to go see that. So they bought a ticket for the opening night, for opening day, rushed out to watch it. They're the most excited for this project. They tend to be the ones that like it the most. So most big blockbusters, tentpole films get some A, an A minus, an A plus. They tend to be in the A's. Anything below an A is generally pretty bad for a big blockbuster. Point of reference, only 2 MCU films have a B Cinemascore. Eternals, which is widely regarded as the most polarizing of MCU films, and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which was largely seen as a big, gigantic disappointment. And those are the 2 MCU films with the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score, and they have a B Cinemascore as well. So that's kind of our point of reference here. Almost every MCU film has an A. Even Thor: The Dark World, right, widely regarded as one of the worst MCU films, has an A minus Cinemascore. So when you see The Flash got a B, that's not good. That is a low Cinemascore. So the question is, why did that happen? And honestly, I was pretty caught off guard by this one because I really enjoyed it. The people I watched it with at both of the times I've seen it, they really enjoyed it. My first audience in particular was eaten up. My second one wasn't quite as lively, but it seemed like they were having a good time with the movie. And then I got on the internet and it was really low. And even I was thinking, like, what do I think the Cinemascore will be? And I thought bare minimum would be an A minus because it's just like such a fun film, such a funny film. It has an emotional current to it. I really thought audiences would resonate with the film better. And then it comes out, B Cinemascore. That is just not good for a big blockbuster. There's a quick rabbit trail in here. Horror movies actually tend to have really bad Cinemascores. Horror movies kind of pull out a different audience and a different type of crowd. It plays differently than most movies, and so they tend to be much lower. Like A24 horror films are always like C pluses, Ds. Even movies that go down as being great, A24 horror films have like D Cinemascores. And ultimately, Cinemascore measures, did the audience get what they expected? Did they get what they paid for? Did they get what they wanted when they went into the theater? Did they leave satisfied with what they got? And I think that right there is kind of why this movie is getting pretty low Cinemascore, because people left kind of disappointed. And there's a few reasons for that. These are my best speculation. I don't fully get it because I really enjoyed the film. Some of it is that it was just kind of too overhyped by some early praise, some early comments, and the studio trying to push it as this incredible top tier comic book movie. So it premiered at CinemaCon about 6 weeks back, and there were some people saying it one of the best comic book movies of all time, and Warner Brothers snatched that up. They started spitting it out there. James Gunn said, oh, this is a fantastic film. And then David Zaslav, the guy that's like over Warner Brothers Discovery, he said, this is one of the best comic book movies of all time. It's so emotional. I totally resonated with it. It is incredible. So you just had some this early buzz praising it as this. Way, 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 way up here. And then they did all these fan screenings. And people showed up to these fan screenings, and the buzz, once again, from the fan screenings was really positive, real positive. Until about a week ago when suddenly it started to shift in this other direction. So I think you had this scenario where people showed up, and if you're expecting this and you get this, you're disappointed. Right off the bat, if you're disappointed, you go a little bit lower on him. I also think there's a age issue going on with this movie. Some factors related to age, as well as DC versus Marvel sort of stuff kind of going on, where it's being compared to No Way Home for good reason. Both of them are pulling back people that were beloved parts of different generations' childhoods. Michael Keaton, different generations of Spider-Men, movies promising cameos, reappearances of people we haven't seen in a long time. Both the movies had that. Different stories, both multiverse stories, both pulling people in. Reasonable comparison. But Batman 89 came out 13 years before the Spider-Man movies started coming out. That's a pretty big gap in the wind with the range we're talking about right here of the people that grew up with Batman 89 are over 35. They're my age and older. Like, it's a significantly older batch of people. And the people that tend to rush out opening night to be able to see movies aren't the ones that have kids that they have to get babysitters for. It's not the people that grew up on Michael Keaton. I've had so many people message me over the last week, hey, do I need to watch Batman 89 before The Flash? I've never seen Batman 89 before. And that nostalgia magic for these movies that makes them kind of play on that next level, I think it's a much more niche audience. It's an older audience that doesn't rush out than that which goes for Spider-Man that's younger. It's more significantly more recent. So I think it plays quite a bit different because of that. But who goes to CinemaCon? CinemaCon is a convention for like movie theater chains and for film journalists. Who goes to that? People that are kind of older. 35-year-olds, 40, 50, 55-year-olds. Old people like me, my age, that grew up on Batman 89. So they saw it and they praised it way up here because it had the nostalgia magic. But who went to go see it 2 days ago? A lot of people that are like 25, 20. They don't quite have the nostalgia magic for Batman 89 that they did have for Spider-Man.
Hey, this is me the next day with a little bit more information while I'm editing this. The general audience post-track score was 3.5 stars out of 5, which is good, but it's not great. And when you have one of these big, epic movies that they tried to sell as the best comic book movie of all time, certainly a disappointing mid-score. But with parents, the scoring was 4.5 out of 5 stars, which is a great score. And that really kind of confirms or gives some data to back what I was just saying about this movie playing significantly better with older audiences, the people that were at CinemaCon, the people that would maybe rush out to go to a promo screening, fan screening. They actually did score it very high, even opening weekend. But general audiences, which are a little bit younger, they score it kind of mid. And I think you see a lot of that on Twitter. And just to give you like some quick thoughts on it, parents, they're significantly more likely to have grown up watching Batman 89. Parents, they're significantly more likely to have lost a parent or a loved one too soon. A parent is significantly more likely to be at a phase of life where they're like processing the trauma of their childhood that shaped them into who they are as an adult. And so a movie that is all about a hero trying to kind of take away the wounds of their childhood tied to the death of a parent, those are ideas and themes that resonate with an older audience. And I think you see that in kind of why was the hype versus the actual audience reactions. Where's some of that disconnect? It's right there.
Likewise, someone like me, I said that I thought The Flash was better than Spider-Man No Way Home. People hear that. For them, this is Spider-Man No Way Home. It's at the top. But I've always said it's like here. It's very good. I do not like the setup. I like the payoff, the fan service, the appearances, the cameras. I love all that. I thought it was a great experience. I don't think it's a great movie. Thought The Flash was a better movie because it had a better setup, better emotional journey for our lead character, better reason for motivating the actions that took place. So I thought it was better for that reason. Both of them, for me, deliver the nostalgia. If If you didn't grow up with Batman 89, if you've never seen Batman 89, this movie doesn't have that the nostalgia magic sprinkled on top of it. But I told you, for me, it's better than No Way Home. So you're like, oh, is it way up here? No, it's not for you. So you're disappointed. But another gigantic one that I think is a problem with this film is that it ends on like 4 different weird notes, where you're watching the film and you can be tracking along with it really well. You're laughing, you're having a good time. It's the movie you're hoping for, a movie you're so excited for this film, and it could be working for you on a lot of levels. And then in the last 15 minutes, it does some stuff that just ends on a weird note. Without wanting to go into spoilers, there's some stuff with the third act, the Zod battle. By implications, it's kind of a weird note. What's kind of going on there? The ultimate realization of Barry, that they probably should have massaged that a little bit better so it doesn't end on such a weird, like, to save people, he has to do some, by implication, really not so saving them kind of stuff. It's weird. And then it kind of goes into a Speed Force thing that is kind of anticlimactic. It's very different for this type of movie that makes you go, huh, what did I think about that? Okay, that was an interesting way to visualize the central conflict of your film that's not just the main villain in this traditional sense. That was a little bit different. It's a little bit weird. And then the final shot before the credits start rolling, the final little reveal, it does kind of like a final gag, a final cameo bit. And it gets a laugh and reaction out of an audience, but it leaves people being like, really? That's what you're doing? What? Once again, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but we know that at least one different ending was filmed that would have been more satisfying. Wouldn't have gotten one final laugh, but it would have been way more satisfying. I think that there was a third ending shot for the movie that would have had several people appearing. And if you know what it is, you'd like, everyone hears what this third ending is and went, that would have been awesome. I would have loved that. Why did they end with that? That would have been really cool. Whether they move forward DCEU, if this is the end, any reason, that would be so satisfying, cool, and a hopeful, optimistic note to end things on. And instead, they did kind of a weird joke that makes people go, really? What? Huh? Why would you do that? And then it does a post-credit scene that also feels like a waste. So Cinemascore measures, did people get what they wanted? Did they leave satisfied? So you have a movie that was hyped way up here, and then for a lot of people, it's only kind of like 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10. It's not fantastic. And even some of their issues are it ends on a really weird note. Really weird note. Multiple weird notes. So you leave the theater like, huh? I just waited 10 minutes for that post-credit scene? What does that last note mean? While you were already just kind of like wrestling with kind of the weird implications of some of the other stuff in the third act. You might have had a blast with the rest of the film and were laughing and loved seeing Michael Keaton, and then you went, that was weird at the end. And if you want to throw in, some people weren't crazy about some of the choices with some of the cameos. I mean, I saw a guy comment saying that they're like desecrating the graves of the dead or something like that. Some people really sat very weird with them. You might have 5 different really odd things in the last 15 minutes of the movie that just made people, sat weird with them, despite the fact that otherwise there was a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of that. And then when you have a movie where the CGI is infamously terrible, there's also just a really easy thing to just for everyone to just attack. That looked terrible. That's kind of my best read on it. Like I'm spending all this time on this negative stuff when missing all the stuff that I really enjoyed about it. But I think that's kind of what's happening, is that all of the stuff about Barry's motivation, the journey, what he learns, all of the humor, which maybe it didn't work for you, fair enough. But for a lot of people, they had fun with the movie. It turned up meh by the end. It's just a lot of stuff kind of combines that you kind of forget the things that you did enjoy, and just some of these mistakes are so obvious and they're at the end of the movie that you leave the film thinking about, that looked really bad. Why would you end with that point? And what does that mean in regards to the future of this timeline with who's that character? There's a lot of those weird choices, and your brain focuses on the negative more than the positives. Thus, you get a low cinema score. That's my best guess as to kind of what's going on here. Hey, if you like these types of videos, I have a second channel called Sean Chandler Plus, where I clip out segments from the different live streams that I do, talk about more niche things, talk about more movie news, little editorials, this type of stuff. You can check it out over on Sean Chandler Plus. I post almost daily over there. Little nuggets, a little bit more off the cuff, a different type of content, but still talking about movies and TV way too much.